All right, this is Unit 9, Lesson 6. We're going to relate fractional operations and talk about the commutative property and how when you shift things around, it's not saying anything different. So then we'll predict the results of adding, subtracting, and multiplying fractions, and we'll solve some of those in story problems. So what I'm saying when I say the commutative property is that it doesn't matter that I say 2/3 plus 1/3, or if I was to say 1/3 plus 2/3, right? 2/3 plus 1/3, right? Well, same when I multiply 2/3 times 1/3, 1/3 times 2/3. It doesn't really matter, okay? So you need SAB page 381 to 382. All right, so these are some fraction strips, and it shows how we can add and multiply fractions. So if you look at the top one, you're seeing how 2/5 plus 3/5 is 5/5. Okay, and then you're seeing how 3/5 plus 2/5 is 6/25. So which one has the greater answer? Well, when you add fractions, right? You get a bigger piece of the pie when you add fractions. Right? You're adding more. You're adding to it. Whereas when you multiply, you are making it smaller. You're taking a portion of the portion already. Okay, so which of these equations is going to have the greater answer? The addition one. Okay, it'll always be the addition one. On this next one, so let's work that through. Remember, when you have a common denominator, you just add the numerators. So you move your common denominator over, and 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, when you have multiplication, you just multiply straight across. So you multiply denominator times denominator, so 7 times 7, which is 49, and then 3 times 2, which is 6. So 6/49 versus 6/7. So you can see that it's significantly different, and the addition is quite a bit larger. Okay, so again, just adding. You need to find your common denominator. It's going to be 12, which means you multiply by 2, multiply by 3. Remember our rule, whatever you do to the denominator, got to do to the numerator. Okay, when you multiply those, then you get 9/12 plus 3/12. So you get 11/12 total. Okay, when you multiply, you just multiply straight across. So you're going to take 6 times 4, which is 24, and then 3 times 1, which is 3. And then that can actually be simplified down. 3 goes into both 1 and 8. Okay, so yeah, you should be able to tell which one's larger, right? It's always going to be that addition one. Okay, so the next part is tell which is going to be a greater than the first number of the expression or smaller. Well, when you add, it's going to be greater, right? Because you're adding two numbers together. You're going to get a bigger number than what you started with. When you subtract, it's going to be smaller, right? When you subtract numbers, you get a smaller number or less, okay? When you multiply whole numbers, you get a greater number, right? It's a bigger number than what you started with, but when you multiply fractions, it's less, okay? For fractions, you're taking a part of the group, and for a whole number, you're taking the whole entire group. Okay, let's try this out. Amber, a very fit snail, moves 7/9 of a yard in an hour. She challenged the other snails to try to do better. Willie moved 4/5 as far as Amber. So we need to figure out what we're going to do. Well, we're going to multiply. So you're going to do 7/9 times 4/5. Remember, you just multiply straight across. So you do 7 times 4, which is 28, and 9 times 5, which is 45. So 28/45 of a yard. Okay. Dusty went 1/3 of a yard less than Amber. Okay, so Amber's up here, 7/9. And this time it says less, so we're going to subtract 7/9 minus 1/3. Okay, we got to find a common denominator. Multiply this by 3 and this by 3. I get 7/9 minus 3/9. 7/9 minus 3/9 is 4/9. So Up here we got 28 45ths. We've got 4 ninths. Okay, Pearl went twice as far as Amber. So it's like saying 7 ninths times 2. Or 7 ninths plus 7 ninths if you're more comfortable with that, which is 14 ninths. Okay, Casey moved 4 ninths as 4 ninths of a yard more than Amber. That's addition. So 7 ninths plus 4 ninths is 11 ninths, or 1 and 2 ninths yards. 1 and 2 ninths yards. Okay, Minnie moved half as far as Amber, so you're going to take 7 ninths, multiply that in half. Excuse me. Half of 7 ninths would be 7 eighteenths, right? If I just multiply that across, I get 7 eighteenths. 9 times 2 is 18. 7 times 1 is 7. Okay, I'm going to move on down to here to the bottom. I want you to look at the relationship of commutative property. This is just what I was talking about at the beginning. I want you to explain out in your own words these steps, okay? And then we'll come back and share that out in class tomorrow.